Hello and welcome everybody. I would like to give you a few moments before we start as everybody is joining here. Please make sure to mute your microphones when you join. Okay, here we go. We have a fairly large audience here today. Welcome everybody. All right, and people are still slowly trickling in. Please, again, if you can, mute your microphones so the presenters can give their presentation without any interruption. We thank you very much. If you have any questions, please use the chat button to write your questions. The presenters will explain a little more how they will go about answering questions. And without any further ado, I welcome your presenters.
Thank you, Belma. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our session. Just for fun, I guess, to use the chat, if you want to put in the chat like what state you're from or province or country, go ahead. That could be fun just to kind of see who's in the audience. My name is Chris Wong, and I am the Associate Vice Chancellor and Registrar at Purdue Fort Wayne. I'm a current member of the chair of the State and Regional Caucus, State Regional Relations Committee, former member of the AAPI Caucus chair, and we thought a fun little fact about when was my first conference was back in 2006 in San Diego. So I'll pass it over to Molly to introduce herself.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Molly McDermott Fallon. I am the Assistant Vice Provost and University Registrar at the University of Cincinnati. I'm currently a member of the State and Regional Group, as well as the Women's Caucus. And my fun fact is my first conference was in 2013 at San Francisco. Handing it over to Erin.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Erin Mason. I'm University Registrar at Ball State University, and I am the Group 3 Program Committee Chair. So you'll see me running around in Aurora on site helping with logistics, and a member of the member engagement in the Women's Caucus. My fun fact is my first AACRAO was in 2012 at Philadelphia. So 1 year before Molly.
That's cool. And yeah, just again, we have a couple of slides that we want to go through, and then at the end, we'll save enough time for questions. But if you do have questions as we're moving through the session, feel free to put those in the chat and we'll make sure we answer them at the end. So thanks again for being here.
All right, I'll kick it off with reasons for attending AACRAO 23. It's a fantastic opportunity to learn, to gain knowledge from experts in the registrar's office, admissions, enrollment services management, to just kind of learn and gain knowledge. It's a fantastic way to network, especially as we're all coming out of COVID. It's a great way to connect with your colleagues. You may be delivering a presentation. A presentation is an excellent way to get your name out there in AACRAO and to connect with people throughout the country and nationally and worldwide. Evaluate vendor products and services. I pause on this one because my staff has often said, well, why should I go see a vendor? I'm not the decision maker. You may not be the decision maker, but you're an influencer. And so go visit those vendors, look at the products, educate yourself on them, and go back to your leadership and be an influencer for your institution. It's a way to rejuvenate. It's a way to talk to other colleagues who are going through the same thing you are. It's a way to vent. It's an opportunity to vent, to say, are you all doing it this way? This is how we are doing it. It's a way to really spring life back into what we do in higher education. It's an opportunity to get involved. If you can, say yes. I remember at my very first conference in San Francisco, the president of AACRAO, stood up there in front of the first session and said, I got here because I said yes. Continue to say yes if you can and get involved. And that's easier said than done, but don't hesitate to try to step up within the organization.
Right, we wanted to kind of give a high level of some of the key things to look out for. So the conference starts on Sunday, and we want, for first-time attendees, we have a couple of different experiences just for you to connect. One is definitely the Experience AACRAO, which is Sunday 3:15-ish, and then we have an opening session, which I'm personally looking forward to, with BD Wong as our plenary keynote speaker, excuse me, at 4:45. And then right after that, you'll be ushered into kind of the exhibit hall with vendors and so forth. So you can start doing some of the networking there that Molly was talking about before. And then keynote sessions and plenaries, there's a couple of them throughout the week. Usually those are just updates to be aware of from the federal level. And as you can see, probably like FAFSA simplification, that's going to impact all of our work in our institutions as well. The caucuses, just so you know, are sometimes when I think of a caucus, I think of like a political group, but for AACRAO, they're really more of a networking and affinity group. You can see them listed there: AAPI, Black Caucus, Latinx, LGBTQIA, Native American, Women's Caucus, and we have a new one that's just was approved as young professionals, so those that are under 40. And a quick way to see and network with others who have maybe similar background or like-mindedness is to go to the search gallery and just type in caucus, and you can see the different times that are throughout the caucus meetings that are offered throughout the conference. As we mentioned before, the federal relations update is just another way to hear what's going on in terms of legal or court cases. For example, the court case that right now that we're anxiously waiting to hear is I think UNC that could affect admissions. And then the business meeting, that's an opportunity for members to vote and approve on the budget and hear updates from AACRAO office about what they're working on and how they're supporting the work that we do. And then finally, state and regional receptions are usually Tuesday evening. Most state and regionals will email their listservs to say, is anybody going to the annual meeting? And they'll usually plan a networking event, maybe a dinner or a social gathering on Tuesday night. So you can kind of meet other people from that area. And then there's a URL there that kind of has it's a meeting at a glance that kind of lays out the different events throughout the conference.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we have planned for first-time attendees, in addition to all of the other amazing sessions that Chris has referenced. We are really excited that you're choosing to spend your money, time, and travel to Aurora to spend time communing with us and learning and growing. So we wanted to highlight some of the opportunities for you because we know you're new to maybe AACRAO, maybe this is your first national, maybe you are going by yourself. So we wanted to make sure you knew sessions that were really specified for you. So the first one, you already have a gold star. You attended this Experience AACRAO webinar, and so thank you for that. Next week on the 7th, we have the annual meeting open Q&A. So if you or someone you know who missed this but is also a new attendee has questions about what to expect, you have this time carved out where you can log on and ask us anything. That's just going to be very casual, more like a coffee chat. The one I'm really excited about is Experience AACRAO, a live event, and Chris stated that that was Sunday at 3:15. This is an opportunity for you to learn about things that AACRAO offers, to meet other AACRAO attendees. But really this year we have a very exciting event, and I want to make sure I read it to you correctly because it is still in the works. So this year we are excited to have engaged Song Division, who will bring an interactive component to this session. Song Division is an engagement company that brings people together to create music. Together, first-time attendees will create a memorable song that captures the voice of AACRAO. Now, I have to tell you, don't worry about your singing voice. They're going to do all of this for us, but we're going to experience the fun and create a song together. So we're hoping you're able to make that. We know not everyone will fly in time for that. So we have the In Case You Missed It session on Monday at 8 to 8:50. And then that's an opportunity for you to learn about the nuts and bolts of how to approach the annual meeting, get questions answered, etc. So that's Monday at 8 a.m. At the end of the week, we have the roundtable first time attendee wrap up Wednesday at 9 to 9:50. We want to hear what you liked, what your struggles were, how we can make the first time experience better for you. And so if you have time in your schedule, we'd love for you to spend time with us in that way. And we also send out session and annual meeting evaluations, and we would love your feedback there too. I highlighted down there a link that brings you to events for first time attendees, but we did want to call out some of the cool things that we're doing, and we're very excited about Song Division. So we hope to see you there.
So what are the session types? There are a few. The first is the breakout sessions. They're on average 50 to 75 minutes presentations given by a person or by a co-presenter. Still slides, there may be video content expected throughout the presentation. A panel usually has 3 or more members in a 50-minute session, and there are slides, video content throughout the presentation, usually a Q&A as well. Roundtables are completely different. Roundtables are an opportunity for you to share. There's not usually a presenter, but more of a leader of the roundtable. There could be visual content, prompts, things along those lines, but it's really more of a session of conversation. And then there are stop and shares. Stop and shares are 30 to 50 minutes, small informal gatherings where participants can connect with colleagues who are similar challenges and successes of their campus. And I want to mention some sessions will be live streamed to our friends at home who are unable to come in person. And shout out for the pre-conference workshops. If you haven't checked them out, please go ahead and do so. But yeah, those are our opportunities for our sessions.
I was going to say most of the workshops have a fee to them. The state regional pre-conference workshop is free, I'm glad to say, but go ahead, Erin.
So now we want to talk to you about strategies for success. And so I'm going to take the first bullet, logistics and planning. And so before you go to a conference, and some of you may know this, but some of you might be new to travel for your institution, you want to look at the rules and the requirements. Do you need to keep receipts? Are you able to accept gifts, or do you have strict gift like rules and regulations at your institution? How do you get from place to place? If you are going to AACRAO with a group of others, how do you determine as a unit or as an institution which sessions to cover? And so you want to think about what your goals are, what the goals are of your office or your division, and who else may be going. And sometimes there are years where we're looking at something that's a new project that's coming our way, and multiple ones of us will go to the same session, and we'll make contact with the presenters who've done something that we were looking to do that's new and innovative. And other times we'll divide and conquer. And so if you're going with the group, or even if you're going by yourself, it's important to think about what do you want to get out of this experience, and sort of go to sessions in alignment with that. You also want to have a backup session, because sometimes these rooms can get really crowded, or sometimes you might have read it one way and you very quickly realize this is a session that you weren't thinking you were attending, and you could sneak out and go to another one. In a couple of weeks, you'll be receiving an email about the new app that we're using for the conference experience called Whova. Download that app and get to know it. There you'll be able to review and pick sessions and have alternates lined up. And so that's the first time we're using it, and we're very excited. So make sure you get that before you land on site, because that helps you be able to sort of plan in your head what you want to cover. Personalize your schedule, download materials, etc. Expect to be overwhelmed. If you've never been to a conference of this size, or you've never been to AACRAO, each conference has its own nuances and types of sessions and expectations, and that's okay. We all have had a first time at AACRAO. We've all sometimes felt overwhelmed, but there is also a local arrangements table on site that can help you get to know the area and what's available. The other things that I wanted to mention was, please bring business cards. You will need them for networking. You will need them for giveaways. My trick is usually I have it here. my little attendance badge, and I have my business cards in there. And then when somebody gives me a business card, I write what I talked to them about and store it in here. And I have them for all the conferences. So you want to, if you have business cards, be sure to bring them. That's a really good tip. And I think the other thing I wanted to mention is that you can get to the facility by taking light rail and getting off and then taking a shuttle to the Gaylord. Alternatively, you can find taxi, Uber, etc. Molly, you want to turn it over for self-care?
Yes. Self-care is near and dear to my heart. So one of the things you're probably asking yourself is, what do I wear? And that's a great question, and one that's not always answered. AACRAO is business casual. Wear comfortable shoes. You will be amazed at the amount of walking you are going to be doing at AACRAO. From your hotel location to the conference center, back and forth between sessions, it's a lot of walking. Bring multiple layers or different kinds of clothes. Some of the session rooms have a tendency to be a little chilly based upon the number of people who are attending. And so you may want to bring a light sweater when you're attending some of the sessions. Stay hydrated. Remember, Aurora is at a higher elevation, and so staying hydrated is going to be key. Food. Food is a great question. A tip and trick that I've found over the years is if you get to the resort, get an Instacart. Bring in some necessities you need, like fruit or a vegetable or liquid that you enjoy, that you would like to have at the resorts. Another tip and trick is, sorry, I'm grabbing my notes. Take a rest. I know that we've spent a significant amount of dollars to go to conference, but make sure you take a rest for yourself. Like Erin said, it can possibly be overwhelming, but just take a moment to yourself, gather. There should be, I believe, Chris, did we determine if there's going to be a quiet room that folks can use? Yeah, at the session. Erin mentioned it before, but please give yourself time to navigate. It's a large resort. Make sure to kind of check out where your sessions are, and there's a map. And so you can kind of go from place to place to figure out wayfinding as you're navigating through. Remember, many of us are nervous. All of us, you are first-time attendees, and don't be afraid to ask questions and reach out. We've all been there. We all have been first attendees. There's also food varieties on site, but there'll also be food carts for cheaper options if you're kind of in a quick bite, because food is important, and there's only going to be a certain amount of time to be able to grab it. So look out for that. I think those are all my self-cares. I'm going to hand it over to Chris.
All right. So I have the next two things to talk about: vendor products, exhibit hall, and then networking and connecting. Vendors are going to be on site. With the business cards that Erin mentioned, sometimes they'll have raffles and drawings, and they'll want you to have your business card. Yes, they'll probably follow up with you after the conference as well and talk about different things to get a demo. But one of the strategies I try to use for the vendor sessions are to go to the software companies that we already use just to build those relationships. Sometimes it's you could say, hey, we're experiencing this, and you can get like a private consultation right on site. So that's a nice way to network with vendors and leverage that resource. Vendors will also give presentations. I forget which day it is, but usually one block during the session will be like all vendor sessions. So that's maybe a little bit of a smaller way to connect with a vendor to talk about what is their product and how could it benefit your institution if you're looking at maybe a process improvement or something with documents, or a new SIS, which is a huge undertaking. Personally, I also use the vendors to restock on my pen supply for the next coming year. So there'll be a lot of pens as well. But what Erin mentioned too about check with your institution. So when I was at Governor State, which is in Illinois, there was a state policy that you cannot accept gifts more than $25 or you had to make an equivalent contribution or donation. So basically, I never entered into any raffles and that type of stuff. If you're a private institution, most likely you'll have a little bit more flexibility, but just be aware of that as well. I think also one of the vendors, I think last year, one of the photographers will give headshots, professional headshots on site. So if you're already dressed in business casual, or if you want to have a little more professional, just make sure that that's an opportunity, and they won't charge you for that. In terms of networking, definitely, as Molly and Aaron have said, feel free to say hi. Maybe make a goal to just get to know 1 or 2 people. One of the things that I always look forward to in terms of AACRAO is just the networking. I feel like we're really collaborative because we're all going through similar issues or have gone through different issues. And so it's a nice way to learn from others who've gone through that similar issue. Another strategy I've used in terms of business cards is if I go to a session, I'll ask the person for a copy of the PowerPoint, and I'll just write that on the back of the card, like, I want your PowerPoint, and give them my business card so that hopefully they know this is what I want them to send me afterwards. And then stock and shares are always a nice time to connect as well. Just a little bit lower key to connect rather than like large group sessions and so forth. But feel free to say hi to people. We all started somewhere. And we'll get to this a little bit later, but FERPA sessions, just so you know, tend to be very well attended. Sometimes they're standing room only, also like some of the federal updates. So you want to make sure you get there early and sit towards the front so that you can leave some room for the back. Sometimes for larger sessions, they might ask you to scrunch in. It's okay. People are usually have practiced self-care or personal care, I should say. Smiley was talking about. So we're all there to learn. So. And yeah, make sure you check out the local arrangements table, and then also again, state and regional, which will be at the Experience AACRAO, and also the state and regional receptions as a way to kind of connect with people in your area. So those are just some of the strategy and tips for networking. I guess we're moving on to lessons learned. I already kind of alluded to that. One was just that the FAFSA sessions are just really, really well attended. And just so that for those who are new, you might have heard the name Leroy Rooker. He is really kind of a celebrity within AACRAO because he is the FERPA compliance officer, or was a former FERPA compliance officer for the government, but has moved into a consultant role at AACRAO, and he's just a wealth of knowledge. Another quick thing that I learned is that AACRAO does not provide like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So my first conference was like a state regional, which everything was kind of paid for. All the meals were included. AACRAO will provide snacks and refreshment breaks in the morning and then the afternoon, and they'll get some stuff, but just make sure that you find a place to get your lunch, a place to eat. And usually the state, the vendors will have receptions in the evening, usually Monday night for sure, probably Sunday night too, but vendors will always have different receptions as well. So that's another way to kind of grab some grub if you are on a budget. Molly?
Yes, I would say one of my lessons learned is you're going to receive a lot of invitations to a lot of vendor receptions. Don't feel obligated to attend them all. That's not a requirement. Just pick and choose the ones you want to go to, because if you're trying to go to all of them, you're going to run yourself ragged trying to get to every single vendor reception. Just pick the key ones that you want, or vendors at your school or institution are looking to maybe purchasing, acquire, or already have. I'm going to go back and reiterate the comfortable shoes piece, because in San Francisco, I made a rookie mistake and had heels, and I will never, ever go to an AACRAO session with a pair of heels in my bag ever again. So bring the comfortable shoes, because you're going to be doing, again, a significant amount of walking. Aaron?
I think one of the things that I learned is I was at a large public flagship, and now I'm at a mid-sized regional. And when I started, I started to look for like large publics only, because I felt like they were most like me. And I think that was good, but I limited myself to learning things from other institutions. We may not have been able to do things like a different school, maybe smaller school or a different type of school, but we could learn like the thought processes and the things that people evaluated when they were building specific programs or implementing specific systems. And so I think there's something to be gained by staying open-minded with the sessions that you go to. Some people are like, oh, it's a vendor session, I don't want to go. But Molly's absolutely right. That's a great place to find intel on what's going on. And you may not think you're in the market for that product. And you may go home and find out in 6 months that somebody at your campus talked to this person and wants this product, and you will be able to have influence. So I would say take the time to look at the schedule and explore sessions and frame it from a learning perspective. There are times when I have gone and I have felt these people know way more than me. I don't even know what I'm doing here, but these people also can learn from me and vice versa. And so I think as long as you're open-minded and you frame it as a learning experience, there's something to be gained from every session. And that was something I learned early on, was I didn't necessarily need to just go to large regional flagship sessions to get something from the conference. And so I want to encourage everyone to really evaluate each session on its own and see what might work for you.
I also echo what Erin said, because you never know where your career is going to take you, or someone's career will take to your institution. And so you'll meet people at AACRAO that someday you may be working with on a regular basis. And so making that networking opportunity is great to do at AACRAO.
And I would piggyback to it. It seems like the sessions that AACRAO offers always seems to be so timely in terms of the things that I'm going through in my day-to-day. And if there's ever one, like for me, sometimes just having one idea, one connection, one, I don't know, one thought is enough for me to just, take and have it be a quote unquote successful conference. Because there are so many different ideas, and yeah, there's the things that you have to evaluate, like, okay, we might not be able to address that one right now because there's a lot of ideas, right? There's so many new things that are going on. So you have to kind of evaluate it. And so I think just getting it into digestible chunks sometimes can be helpful too, because there's just so much to kind of have to weed through. But with that, I think we're going to open it up for questions is our next thing. And I think we have a couple already in the chat. I see. Oraz, I see your hand.
Thanks, Chris. Hey, excuse me. Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Rosalind Perry, and excuse me, I am the current chair of member engagement, and I'm so happy to see all of you here on the webinar. And big shout out to Chris, Molly, and Erin for facilitating this. There's just a lot that everyone's so busy right now. And I just so appreciate them taking their time to impart their knowledge and wisdom on everyone. Just one other piece of advice that I would like to give. So I wear quite a few hats right now in AACRAO. So I'm the current chair of member engagement. I'm the Group 5 program coordinator. Along with, so I sit on the program committee with Erin, and then I'm also the Vice President-elect of Access and Equity. So I will be rolling off of the program committee this year. But what I do want to also encourage you to do is get to know your board members. Board members do not bite. So get to know your board members. When you go to experience AACRAO, we will also let you know there's different color name tags for different groups of folks. If you have a question, please, I tell people, no question is a dumb question. Always ask your questions. Closed mouths do not get fed. Please ask your questions, because 9 times out of 10, the question that you have is probably the same question that a couple of other folks have as well. So, it's better to get that question out there and have it answered than to just hold it and not know what's going on. But, and also, like Erin said, we as the program committee will be running around as well. But we'll also have different color badges. I have no idea how many different color things I'm going to be having around my neck. But please, just stop program committee members, stop board members if you have questions, because you are going to end up feeling overwhelmed at times. But those are the groups of people that will be able to like calm you down, have you do some woosahs and direct you on your way. So I look forward to seeing all of you in Aurora. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. And one thing we forgot, because we had so much content if anybody's presenting at AACRAO, there will be a presenter room, and they ask that you check in 24 hours before your session. That's really just to kind of check in to make sure that the PowerPoint comes up and so forth, and make sure you can run through a couple different slides if you want. There's some technical things, and so that will be helpful. Just so that you know too, you don't have to bring up your own PowerPoint. They usually have someone on staff or as part of the annual meeting team that will just bring up the PowerPoints and stuff and get that ready for you. So all you have to do is go to the podium or the front and just start. There's a couple of questions in the chat I see. I'm trying to think where we go from there. We talked about the app. Yeah, it's Huva, I think. I'm trying to think of where we go.
It's Huva. Hi, this is Becky with AACRAO. Yes,
Hey.
it is Huva. The app is Huva. We plan to launch on March 13th. So definitely is a great resource when we're on site.
I see a question about the stop and share, but then it looked like you had answered it, Aaron. Stop and shares are posted in the app, I believe. Correct?
Yes, they are.
How do we connect with state and regional groups? That's a good question. I guess one way would be to go to AACRAO's website. If you're not sure, if I think it's under who we are, and then there should be a state and regional drop-down link. And then you can click on the states or the regional, and that should bring you to the state and regional website, and then click on leadership or executive team. I will look for something there. That would probably be my best way. If you want, you could also email me, and my email will be on one of the last slides, and I can try to put you in contact with your state and regional. So we have one brand new registrar in a rural community college. Do we have a group of similar you could connect with? I see people shaking their head. I know that there's a community college relations group, right, as part of group 5, Roz?
Yeah. We, as a matter of fact, I think I put in the chat, there is a community college roundtable session. So I would say if you look in the schedule, you should see it.
Another.
Also, this is Becky with AACRAO again. Also in the app, there is one of the things you can pick from in the app is called community. And you can post a community that goes out to all the app users. So you could make your own community even in the app that's like brand new registrars at rural community colleges. I want to meet you, and people can message you and comment. And it's like a social, it's almost like social media that way, that it's a public transparent way for people to see each other and make comments. And you can make a community for your type of college, or you can make a community for the type of exercise you plan to do on Sunday morning. Like lots and lots of flexibility there. So I invite you to check that out.
Another thought too, if you're subscribed to the registrar listserv that AACRAO has, you could just put a note, hey, I'm going to the annual meeting. I'm a rural community college. If there's anybody who is in that group, please let me know, and they'll respond to you. You can try to connect before the meeting. That's another option, I would say too. Okay.
There's a lot of questions, or a few questions in the chat about different types of sessions and if they're going to be available. If you haven't been to the AACRAO website, there is like a sessions gallery and there is a search feature. So if you wanted to start going in and look at those sessions prior to getting in the app, you can do that. I'm just gonna go and find that link and post it in the chat. And there's like lots of different ways you can sort them. And so stay tuned. I'll put that in the chat right now.
Yeah, and Curtis had a question and it looked like Roz had answered it in the chat. So I hope it makes sense in terms of if you want to go to in case you missed it and go to all the different events. No one's going to stop you if you want to go to all of them. But I think Roz answered that one. Question about eating areas around the hotel. The Gaylord, from what I understand, is a kind of a self-contained, inclusive resort-ish hotel. So I'm not sure how close we're going to be to like restaurants and that's if you might have to go a little bit of a way to get into Aurora. But there will be like restaurants and stuff, at least on site.
There will also be some extra food options on site that the Gaylord Rockies are putting up for us. They're called activations. And so they're more like a counter service where you could get a barbecue sandwich or a piece of pizza or kind of a boxed lunch style, much simpler than what's available in the restaurants, which are sit down, waiter, type situations. And there's also a shop between the convention center area and your hotel room called Marketplace, which is like grab and go sandwiches type Starbucks type food. But we are working with the hotel on what they're calling, they keep saying activations. And I'm like, okay, what is that to a normal person? And they're like, it's like walk-up service. Okay, thank you. So there's going to be some food options available, not exclusively to our group, but on property. And to just quickly, what Chris said about how far away things are, there are some more like Applebee's and pho and type restaurants, but they're either like a 20-minute walk or probably a 10-minute Uber ride. So it's a little tight with an hour and a half for lunch. But just to put words to what Chris was saying, there are some offsite options, but they are not walkable.
There was a question from Liz about evening activities planned. So yes, I think Roz mentioned about the vendors receptions. There aren't any like AACRAO activities per se that are planned. So you are kind of on your own to network. I mean, certainly that could be a time to explore Denver if you want to kind of check out. It is a bit, from what I understand, a little bit of like half hour, 45-minute like lift or something to get to like downtown Denver, because Aurora is really close to the airport, so it's like northeast of the city.
And the hotel has a free shuttle that runs on a half-hour loop that does go directly to the 61st and Pena metro station or light rail station. And from that station, you could light rail into Denver, which is probably going to be cheaper than an Uber, but less flexible on time, right? Like you're on schedules. But the Gaylord does have shuttles that run to that metro station, which is also good to know if you're coming from the airport. You could light rail to that station from the airport and then shuttle to the hotel if you're looking into that. And that there's some detail about that available on the AACRAO website on the hotels page.
Okay, thanks, Becky. And just kind of scrolling through the other questions. There was one about the Young Professional Caucus that was mentioned. Will they have a meeting at this conference?
Because I posted in the chat that you can do group 5 equity search. Sorry, Roz.
Oh,
I'm sorry. No, there will not be a scheduled meeting for the Young Professionals Caucus because it's so new and it was just approved like maybe a month ago. But there will be a Young Professionals Caucus table at Experience AACRAO, and then I'm sure from there folks will probably just organically get together, and because there's a lot of excitement around the Young Professionals Caucus. So,
and I mean, if people want, they could also email me or Roz, and we can put you in touch with the caucus chair.
I think the other thing that I've done in the past that's been really good, I was put in a position at one point to help facilitate a school of medicine and dental medicine to come into our student information system. And I knew nothing about medical education. So I went on the app at the time and said, hey, do any medical school, dental school registrar team members want to chat with me for coffee? And so I would say that that was really successful. It's sort of a way to just meet at 7:30 or 8 before the conference starts. So leveraging that app and reaching out to people is usually you can be really successful. And I met some friends for life that way, just by talking about the challenges of trying to fit medical school education into a traditional standard term. So definitely leverage the app.
And I think AACRAO will have a social media handle, a hashtag, I'm sure. Do we know what that is yet, or is that confidential information? Putting Becky on the spot probably as she's typing. So
It's
okay, there you go.
hashtag AACRAO 2023.
Hashtag. Cool. Any other questions that people have, if they want to raise their hand or put in the chat or come off mute? If not, just wanted to share a final slide that just thank you for attending. As Aaron said, you have 3 new friends and we haven't even landed yet. So feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is there. I'll go ahead and put my email too in the chat in case anybody wants to grab it there. And I would just say, we all remember our first AACRAO conference and how it was. So I think, even though I appreciate the shout out, Roz, I think this is just a way for us to give back. And you never know, you might be tapped on the shoulder to be involved with the committee or present, or but it starts with just being willing to get involved. And I hope it'll be a good conference. And as Roz said, there's no such thing as a silly question. We all had them at one point. So hope this was helpful. Any other final thoughts, Aaron or Molly?
Yeah, I would just say, remember to have fun. I know we threw a lot of information at you. I know there's kind of a sense of overwhelm, but have fun. This is such a great opportunity to go and attend and network with your colleagues that it's something I circle on my calendar every year. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in Aurora.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.